So let's get started here, y'all. We're gonna get this rolling. What we're gonna talk about today is like what I like to say is how top 1% sellers run discovery calls that close deals before the demo even happens. All right. Why we're gonna do this is obviously we've worked with lots of sellers over the past 10 years, hundreds, maybe even thousands, as a seller myself, as a founder. And if you're here, you don't know who I am, Andy Mewborn. I was early at Outreach.io, co-founder of Taplio, now the founder of Distribute. So I've built a lot of products around go-to-market, have done a lot in the go-to-market space. So what we're going to go today is do some chatting on discovery here. And why we're going to do that is because I get a ton of questions in the DMs on like, hey Andy, like how do I like increase my close rate from discovery to close? So that's what we're going to talk about today. Some big problems that I noticed and why I wanted to put this together as well is what a lot of people do is they really get into the demo first, right? And so we want to avoid that. How do we avoid that? And if you look at the best sellers that I've worked with personally, like they demos are like, I would say farther in the process than the first call most of the time. And not because they're smooth talkers, not because they have the better products, right? Because they run discovery calls in a great way, right? If you've ever had a discovery call with an executive, which I'm sure some of you here have, most of the time you're not even showing a demo. You're talking through the problem. You're talking through the impact. You're quantifying how you're going to help, right? And so we're going to go through with that. That way you're not going through and saying, hey, let me just jump to the demo without knowing exactly what you're demoing, how you're mapping features to specific pain points, all that fun stuff. So we're going to try and do this in 28 minutes. This might be hard in 28 minutes, but we'll try and get it done. We'll ask some questions. We'll have some fun here, of course. But here's a couple of things that we're going to go through: the pains framework, the question sequence, permission close, champion builder script, price anchor technique, and demo elimination method. Not that you always want to kill the demo, but what we're going to do is prevent you from thinking you need to jump into the demo first thing. All right. Now, put in the chat for me, y'all, your role. Are you a founder? Are you an account executive? Put in the chat for me. What are you guys? What's your role? Go ahead and put that in the chat for me if you don't mind. Founder, co-founder. Okay. Luke's a co-founder. What else we got here? Global sales leader, at WIM, sales director, mentor, founder. Hell yeah. Okay, cool. Who else? Jose, what's up? Founder. Okay, lots of founders. Solutions architect, founder sales. Okay, so probably lots of people doing founder-led sales. Am I right? That's what it sounds like too. Sales and trade. Ooh, trading. Oh, Ahoy. Ahoy's a great name. Amazing. SDR, perfect. Well, when you become an AE or not, this is going to be great. Or you can help coach your AEs too there, right? 2 ground rules we're going to make for this whole thing. Record your next discovery call. And I'm sure you guys are, if you're using a call recorder, Distribute, or some Fireflies, Fathom, whatever you're using, that's what we're going to do. Next thing, pick your next victim, right? You're going to destroy it. Okay. Now, we've done this through thousands of calls, right? This wasn't something that we just put together overnight. Lots of trial and error here. So we're going to share that with everyone that is here. And if you just have joined, looks like we've had quite a few more people join, go ahead and drop in the chat where you're calling in from and your role, just so we have a good idea. All right. So let's first talk to the discovery, what I call death spiral, right? So why I decided to do this session is we kind of last week basically had watched a 60-minute discovery call from someone, a friend of mine. And they had that question for me that was like, hey Andy, like, what am I doing wrong here, man? I feel like our product's great. Everything's great, but like, I can't get anything to close. And the first thing I noticed is they ran basically this first call like an interrogation and not discovery. Okay. So let's talk about the discovery mistakes that murder deals, right? Ask random questions from a template. Okay. We are going to give you some questions. You are going to try and modify them, but they're just going to go down a template, go down a list, right? It's tough to do that. Taking notes without connecting the dots, right? Focusing on features they need and thinking like, oh, it's all about the features versus it being about the motion, right? And if we think about it, most people that you're working with, y'all, if you're selling a service, if you're selling a product, what do they want? They want a promotion. Let's be honest. They want to look good in front of their peers. They want a promotion. They want to look good to their boss. Right. And so that's something that we have to keep in mind. You've all heard the people don't buy off of logic, they buy off of emotion. It's true. Saving pricing for later, promise to send a demo, right? And end with, we'll be in touch. Okay. Biggest mistakes here that I see, right? And what it costs them. All right. A couple truths here that I want y'all to know. All right. People buy emotionally, justify logically. We know that. What does everyone typically want if you're selling B2B specifically? They They want a promotion. They want to feel good. They want to make more money, right? Pain, right? We're going to talk about the pain. One of my good friends, Mark Costigo, talks about the pain hole, which is hilarious. So shout out to him. Next thing is prospects. Prospects are someone's just going to lie about their real problems, right? They're not going to probably give you everything. Okay. Next thing is the person who asks the questions controls the sale, right? If you've ever read that negotiation book by, I forget his name, but like those that ask the questions control the negotiation, control the sale. And what I say discovery where deals are won or lost is because discovery is that first meeting where you figure out, do they have something that we can help solve, right? As simple as that. But let's go through here the average call, the discovery call flow. Okay. Tell me about your business. Boring. Jan, what are your challenges? Super surface level. What's your budget? Who's the decision maker? Right? Like we don't want to straight up ask that. Okay. Split the difference. Yes, ahoy. It is split the difference, that one. So big part in there about the one that asks the questions controls the conversations. Let me show you our solution. Too premature. I'll send you a proposal, loss of control. We need to think about it. Then you get ghosted, right? That's the result. So here's what we're going to talk about today, right? And I'm going to give you guys the exact formula coming up for this so that you can look at it, you can study it, and you can be like, holy crap, okay, this is great in order to run my call. All right. So that's going to be the goal here. Now, couple things here. Put in the chat, what do you think your biggest problem with discovery is, y'all? Put in the chat. What's your biggest problem like after that first call? Are you getting ghosted? Are you having trouble getting interest? Put in the chat. What's that biggest issue you're having during that first call? Okay. Never get ghosted, never get the truth. Okay. Cool. What else? Call too short, lack of urgency. Yep. Okay. Cool. What else we got here? Anyone else? Call too short, transparency. Yep. All that fun stuff. Okay. So we're going to help go through this. Now, we're going to give you a framework. And Fiona, they're interested, but can't get to a firm decision, them discussing internally. Yes. Ooh, Mike, this is a good one. We're going to actually do a session on this, I think later this week, on how do you create content to share with your contact to forward internally and ask them to forward it internally. And we talked about this a little yesterday, but it's really about most of the sale is not happening when you all are in the room, right? Especially if you're selling to an actual company. If you're not selling to the business owner, when you're selling a service to an actual company, most of that sales happening when you're not in the room. So what do you need to do? You need to help craft that narrative for that person that is your champion, right? And so we're gonna actually figure out, how do we test if we even have a champion in the discovery call? And a couple things, Arb here put, don't get enough info on their pain points. Yes. So that's what we'll talk about here. So let's talk about the pains framework. All right. So pains framework here. First thing I'm going to tell y'all, forget about BANT, forget Medic, forget Spin. That you're going to see all these like frameworks that are out there. Not that they're like terrible and complete garbage, but just know that like the buying process has changed. The way buying has changed. AI has changed buying. They can get all the basic stuff themselves, right? All the using Perplexity or ChatGPT or whatever. And because that has changed, what do we need to do? We also need to change how we actually sell to buyers, right? So that is the big thing I want you to remember. Not that those are terrible. They're good starting points, but they were created 20, 30, 40 years ago, right? Before people buy the way they buy today, before AI, before all that stuff. Let me ask y'all, put in the chat, are you using any type of framework today? And if so, which framework? Are you using any type? Yes, no. If yes, which one? Put it in there. No, sir. Okay. No, sir. Luke is saying no. Okay. Medic. Okay. That's good. Okay. Cool. Awesome. Winging it. Ahoy, winging it. Love it. Exclamation mark master here. No, my own style. Okay, great. So that's okay. What we're going to do is give you a framework. Now you can decide to use it, decide to not, but this is something that we use, right? If you've ever had one and it's working for you, great. But if it's not, let's pay attention. Let's have some fun here. All right. First thing, the P, right? We made this easy. Payne's framework, we'll start with the P, right? Starting off the call. Okay. Setting the frame. I like to say set permission, positioning. This is exactly what we do. Here's what we'd like to accomplish: where you are today, where you want to be, what's stopping you, and if there's a fit, how we might help. And if not, point you to a better solution. Does that sound fair? Now, what's the fun part about this 1 and 2 here? You're trying to figure out what the gap is, Okay. Because when we can figure out what the gap is, I imagine that visual of a stick figure on one side of the cliff, a stick figure on the other side of the cliff, and then, the other side of the cliff. And how do you get from one side of the cliff to the other side of the cliff? Right. And in the middle there is you going to quantify how to get there. Okay. And we're going to get to the quantify part here in a second, because every time we position this, and we're going to get to this, but how do we put a number on the problem that we're trying to help solve? Okay. And what is that number typically associated with? That's going to be, it's one of three things. I'll tell you all, like in B2B specifically. It's how do you help them make more money, save money, or reduce costs? Okay. And we're going to try and quantify that with a number. Okay. That is the big part here that a lot of people miss, is quantify. There's a North Star you want to get in a discovery call, and you need one thing to focus on. It's what's that gap number there that we're trying to figure out. Okay. They're at 10 million today. They want to be at 15 million in 6 months. Okay, great. That 5 million, here's how we fit into that piece there to get to 15 million. All right. First things first. Why does this work, y'all? Takes control, sets you up as the expert, right? You're the one selling your service or solution. So what's that mean? You are like a trusted advisor there. That's the goal, right? And then here, what we're doing is also creating safety for honesty and transparency. So someone mentioned earlier, building trust, right? And so this is a way as well to say, hey, if it's a fit, great. If it's not, then, I can point you to something else that's doing, right? And also trying to eliminate that like salesy feeling. All right. Next part here. A for amplifying the pain. Okay. So what we're going to do here is how do we get once again to the pain, the pain problem, whatever, same thing. I'll use those interchangeably. Okay. But surface questions level 1. What made you take this call? I love it. It's just simple. Okay. What's not working about your current approach? How long has this been going on? There's some impact questions you can ask here that I love to ask. Okay. If you don't take control of this problem that you mentioned you had, then what happens? Okay. What's it costing you? These are these impact questions to try and quantify that specific problem. Who else is affected by this? What have you tried that didn't work, right? This one is a money one, right? What have you tried that has not worked? Oh, we tried this other solution. We tried to do this. We tried to do that. What you're getting there is intel, y'all, on have they actually tried solving this problem before? Or are we like guinea pigging this for them? Okay. So big things here we want to talk about. Now, next thing that I'll go through is like emotional questions, right? So this is that emotional, not logic part. What does your boss say about these numbers, right? Where does this leave you on a scale 1 to 10? How much is this? This one's a little cheesy, but honestly, everyone's like, don't use this one. It's like lame. It works. Okay. I use it all the time. You'll hear a bunch of gurus say, no, don't use that. But like I say on a scale 1 to 10, like how big of a problem actually is this? Okay. So, next, investigate the impact, right? So quantify everything, quantify. The way I can tell if a discovery call is going to go well is if I can quantify it by the end and say, you know what, this is we need to help get you this $5 million gap. We need to help decrease your close rate or increase your close rate from 20% to 30% of all opportunities, right? And this is an example situation here where you can look at that. I won't go through it too much, but the thing I like to say is current pain times time and compound effect is the true cost. Okay. This is where we start to quantify. This is the way you think about it. Okay. A problem that they have is, they don't have enough leads. How many people have that problem? They don't have enough leads. Okay. That's a big one. Okay. Now, over time, hey, we're not building enough pipeline. We haven't been building enough pipeline for over 6 months. Okay, if we continue on this route to not building pipeline over another 6 months, guess what? We're out of business. Okay. So quantify. And again, I'm going through this kind of fast because we already have like only 12 more minutes, but you guys get the idea. Okay. That is what's important. Lack of traction in a competitive sector. Tell us more about that, Ahoy. What do you mean by that? Lack of traction. Is that's the pain there that you're talking about? Give us some more context. Okay, cool. All right. Now, in this pain framework that I like to talk about here, right? Nailing the decision process. Now, this is an interesting one here. A couple things. When you're working one of these deals, this is the process in Medic, or MedPick, right? Like this. So this kind of is taken from that. But here, what I like to do is understand if something's serious about what is their decision process, right? And this is the one that a lot of people forget to ask because they're so worried about just getting to the point where they're like, "Hey, are you interested at the end of the call?" Right? Then I'll send you a proposal. And so the idea here is how do we understand like what's it going to take to actually get this done? Because if you're selling to a B2B company, most of the time I can promise you're not just selling to one person. Unless it's a business owner of a small company, no, you're getting approval from sales, marketing, or operations, blah, 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 blah. So this very important. What's the process look like? Couple example questions. Walk me through what needs to happen to fix this problem. Who else believes this is worth solving? What happened the last time you tried to get budget for this? And what you're seeing here is Sally will say, "Oh, last time I tried to get budget, Johnny from RevOps didn't like the idea." Once you get that information, you figure out, whoa, Johnny is probably going to be the one that's going to be involved in this deal again. And we need to make sure we make Johnny happy and get him on our good side. And so by asking this process question, it's not, okay, let me create a linear plan. It's also you're getting intel on who exactly needs to be involved in this. All right. That way you can get that early so you can start to say, hey, if I want to get this deal done, I need to talk to Sally, Johnny, Timmy, Annie, all these people. All right, cool. So I'll stop here, y'all. Any questions, put in the chat anytime, right? You don't have to wait for me to be like, hey, any questions, but if you do, put them in the chat. And Ahoy has said here, prospects already have a solution. So I need to find the angle as why they should look at my offer. Okay, cool. All right. So Ahoy here, this is a good one, y'all, because right now there's so many products out there. It is hard to capture attention, right? It is really hard. So Ahoy here, let's talk about this. What would most people do, right? Most people would say, hey, we're better. Don't go down the better route because better is always subjective. Okay. Thing to think about here is how can you position yourself as different, right? So I'll give you an example. Like for Distribute, we do like digital, this is a digital sales room, a deal room, right? We don't say, hey, you already have a digital sales room solution. Ours is better. Want to talk? No, we say, hey, you're probably not getting adoption. We know the problem of most of like our competitors, right? And we say, hey, you're probably not getting an adoption. That's because every other solution you're using is very clunky. The other solution you're using clunky. We're different because simplicity is our moat. Okay. We're easy to use. And so we increase adoption and we're like a document, which is already familiar for your team. Okay. This is how we're different, right? Different approach. We don't think you should just put a bunch of content in a room and send it all because we believe you should create content one piece at a time throughout the deal cycle, right? So again, how do you position yourself in a different way? Okay. And yes, Ahoy, I'm going to share these with you. I'm going to share the recording, share everything here. If you're on this live, by the way, which I don't know how many people are on live, but if you are on this live, join the newsletter. I'll be sending it out for that there. All right. From the newsletter, andysnewsletter.com. So if you're not already on there, go ahead and join that there. Should be good to go. All right. Cool. All right. Steve has a question. How much research do you do ahead of time to look more like a subject matter expert? Show me. Steve, this is a great question. So how much research do I do ahead of time? I probably do 5 to 10 minutes of research probably ahead of time. And the things that I look at, of course, are a few different things. One, like, who do they sell to? 2, if they're a public company, can I find any information on that? If not, that's going to be tough. And then 3, this is an interesting one. Depending on who I'm meeting with, if I'm meeting with an executive, here's the thing I'm not going to do. I'm not going to just say, hey, I'm meeting with an executive and then try and do discovery with them, right? I'm going to actually meet with people on the ground floor, probably seeing if I can. Again, it's sometimes hard to do this, but I will email people that are in the same company and I will say, hey, I'm meeting with so-and-so executive. And they're like, first off, oh my God, they're meeting with like my boss's boss. And I try and get information from them so that what I can do is I can go to the executive and bring insights to that meeting as well, versus just saying, hey, tell me about your process. What's going to be better? If you've already got intel from someone on that team and you can go to them and say, hey, I actually already talked to a couple people. Here's what they said. I don't know if you knew this. So again, this is like very tactical, but hope is this helpful for everyone? I'm like going off the rails here from the presentation, but that's okay. But we got some good questions. Yes, that is, I would tell you, if you want to do ninja moves, never show up to a meeting with the person who's the buyer without having some intel, right? Try to reach out to some other people to do it. I'm telling you, multi-threading is the term, right? Most people wait to multi-thread until they have the first meeting, but to really look like you're a boss, you come with already insights from people you've talked to. Okay. That's the pre-work. So while I say do 10 minutes doing research, it's sometimes way more than that, depending on kind of the deal there. Right. So those are the different questions. Eduardo, good question. How would you frame we're different for a boutique executive search firm for middle market companies looking to strengthen their leadership teams and board? Oof, you're putting me on the spot here, Eduardo. So you're basically you're a recruiting firm, right? Is what I understand. How can we actually frame we're different? Off the top of my head, Eduardo, I'd have to think about this a little bit, but the way I would frame it is like, I think about like your landing page, header on your landing page, right? What I would think about is instead of saying, hey, we're a recruiting firm, think about the way you position it in, hey, we help you recruit executives in 30 days or less, or you don't pay. That's different, right? There's urgency there. It's quick, right? And great guarantee. That's the big difference. Okay. So you're basically using difference for a service. You're differentiating by basically saying we get your results faster. Okay. So that's one way. And again, that's just off the top of my head. You're putting me on the spot here, Eduardo, but that's one way there. Now, here's the champion test. How do you know if someone you're working with, y'all, in your organization is actually a champion? All right. That's also a question you want to figure out. Is this someone that can stick their neck out for me, that believes in the solution, that will has some clout internally, that can actually help forward along content I make them, right? So that they can basically build an internal political campaign for our deal. And this is something that I learned is if it's a small deal, transactional, it's a little bit different. But if you're doing a deal with multiple stakeholders, y'all, what you're doing is you're building like an internal political campaign at that company for your deal, right? That's really what we're doing. And this is why you want to talk to multiple people, get them on your side, right? So once you're getting that intel, as Steve mentioned here, that's good. Okay. All right. So champion test, let's pretend we work together, right? You get promoted, as I mentioned, become the hero. Now, what almost stopped that from happening? What internal obstacles did you have to overcome, right? So you can ask them questions like, hey, if we were to do this, right, what would it look like? And what you're doing here is almost a litmus test. You're saying, hey, do they know everyone that we have to talk to in this deal? Do they understand like who the different stakeholders are they're going to have to get this involved? Okay. And if someone's, I can just get this deal done and they're not like a CXO of any kind, like they're lying to you. I promise you, especially in a B2B organization. If they can't understand the process or the buying process, something I like to say as well is, hey, tell me about a solution that you purchased for your current company in the past. And they may say, hey, I've never purchased anything. Okay. That gives you a great idea, right? Because they probably don't know the process. Not that they have to purchase something every time or know that, but that gives you good ideas. Have they done this before? Because as when you're helping people buy, they may have not purchased before. They're not experienced buyers. Okay. Again, their response tells you everything, right? I need to think, here's how I've thought about this and bucketed it, right? Let's talk about getting started, right? That's a good kind of like buying signal there. Send me information. They don't believe you. If after the call, they're saying, send me information, they don't book a next call. They don't ask for the next step, right? Price is too high. They don't see the ROI. I need approval. I wouldn't say the wrong person. I should probably change this. You're right. I need approval. You're not talking to enough people is what I would say. Okay. All right. We are past 30 minutes. I did book this for an hour for those that joined, but that's okay. So we'll keep going here. One big thing that I've seen a lot of reps do too is how do we control the conversation without being controlling? All right. Okay. What's a big mistake that a lot of people do, including myself sometimes, and I have to catch myself, is we go in and we just start ask super specific questions. Okay. And when we ask super specific questions, we don't get them talking enough. And what do you want people to do? You want people to talk. The more they talk, the more you ask the questions, the more you're in control. Remember, well, that's what we started with on this live session here today. So it's something that I always teach my reps, teach other reps, right? That are friends, all that's companies I work with, right? Is start broad and then get more specific. Okay. And that's the way I treat the discovery call. When you're starting broad, you're getting them to feel comfortable talking, right? You're not starting with, hey, tell me what keeps you up at night. Okay. What we're trying to do here is start broad once again and then get specific. Okay. Now I have some examples here of all this fun stuff, but the big thing that I tell people as well, which is like, this is more of a soft skill, right? Is I try and count to 7 after you ask a question. All right. How many people want to, as soon as you ask a question and they like answer something, want to say something back immediately? You're focusing on responding as soon as they start talking. Is anyone like, put yes in the chat if you've ever done that? And if you haven't, I'm not going to believe you. All right. Put yes in the chat if you've done that before. Yes. Jose, yes. Yep. So yes, embrace the awkward silence, count to 7, y'all. That's the thing. That's what I use. There's probably other techniques from gurus out there, but yes, and Jay hit the nail on the head. We're thinking about the next question before we listen. Okay. And so here, the thing you want to do is ask the question, shut up. All right. Ask the question, shut up. Remember, that is going to get them to talk more. Okay. So what are a lot of buyers going to want to do? They're going to say, hey, the duct tape helps. Yeah. There's a good e-com product idea, duct tape for sellers. Good job, AT. I love it. There's a product idea for you if you need a business, duct tape for sellers, right? That could actually be a good, funny campaign for Distribute. But a couple things here. What are a lot of buyers going to want to do? They're going to want to come say, all right, I get it. I want to see the demo. Okay. This is where people flop the most because they go, oh my gosh, like they're asking to show the demo, right? I'm just going to show them the demo. What happens? You're going to show the demo. You're going to show a million features. And then at the end, they're going to be like, ah, cool. That looks like a nice to have. Right. Because once again, what are you not doing? What you're not doing is you're not being able to map, like, what the heck are they experiencing every day? What's the problem they're experiencing, and a feature that maps to that specific problem. So I'll give you an example. Like for Distribute, we do a lot of things, right? We do call recording. We have a video extension. We have content management. We have this page creation. We do it all with AI, right? And help you build all that content. Well, I can spend 3 hours showing you every features in our platform. Okay. So great. But if I'm not showing how that's going to be related to something they're trying to do, then we're not going to close deals. All right. For example, something that we experience a lot is folks say, hey, we want to increase our close rate. Okay. So what I'm going to show here is how we can map content to each basically stage in their sales cycle that helps move the deal forward faster. Right. And we're going to walk through that process because we know what that looks like. All right. So once again, what I'll say here is you can say something like, hey, I'm going to stop right there. I know you want to see these. That's typical with what most demos are like, but we want to make sure that we're mapping all the correct things to your solution and make sure we're customizing this for you and your organization. All right. Big thing here. So what I like to do is also this assumptive progression. Here's another tool for your toolbox, y'all. Okay. Which is don't ask if they want to solve it. Assume they do. Hey, do you want to fix this problem? They're on the call with you. So that the answer is most likely yes. When you fix a problem, what changes for you personally? When we implement this, who from your team should be involved? Walk me through your typical approval process for investments like this. Okay. Assume that they want to do something. That is personally what I like to do there for that. All right, let's talk about some objections that people get. Put in the chat, what are some of the most common objections y'all are all getting? Put in the chat, what's that look like? What are those common objections you are getting? I want to hear that. What are those common objections? Put in the chat, what are some common objections you're getting? I need to think about it, send me information, no time. Okay. We don't have the budget, too expensive, too high cost, already have a supplier, of course, all that fun stuff. We've all heard it before. So here's some scripts, right? We want to model out the unit economics. Oh, that's a fun one, Luke. No time. We do it on our own. Don't need the solution now. Yes. Okay. I, as the owner, Mike, have to be involved in production and deployment, but don't have the time to deal with it. Yeah, of course. All right. So different ways to look at these specifically, but again, what's going to help with a lot of these objections? That pains framework I gave you guys, right? What's happening most of the time when I hear these objections? We're not relating it to a pain, right? And if they do have a pain you can't really help, what do? You say, hey, we're probably not the best fit anyways. Can you refer me to someone that is? That may actually have this pain that you know. Okay. All right. So let's talk about some of these objections, how to handle them. Okay. I need to think about it. We all hear this one. I need to talk with my boss. Early in call, we talked about this. We're going to decide to move to the next step or not. If it's not a fit, I'll tell you. If it is, we'll discuss next steps. Okay. So early in call, what we want to do is what we're doing is preventing these objections. Okay. Early in the call, that's a goal there. That way I don't need to think about it. You're setting the frame of, hey, at the end of this call, let's not waste your time. Let's not waste my time. Let's decide whether we should move the next steps or not. Right. Fair enough. Okay. It's too expensive. How do we prevent that? Okay. Couple things here. This one's a little salesy and you don't have to use this exact line, right? But just what we're doing here is before revealing your price, what we could say is, look, if we can save cost, increase your revenue, or decrease risk, would you invest blank to make blank? Good way to do that early to get that quick yes. Hey, if we could do this and prove it with proof, can I show you that? All right. Another way to handle that objection early. I need to talk to my team. This one I get all the time because there's probably many stakeholders. So during discovery, what do we talk about? That one question in the pains framework, and that pains framework is going to help you with all this, y'all. Right. Which is, hey, who else needs to be involved? Who else needs to be convinced this is worth solving now? Keyword now. Okay. Should we get them on this call now, or would you prefer to create something specific for them? All right. Another good way to do that. Send me proposals. Okay. This one's a fun one. How many people here have sent a proposal and then not heard from the prospect for, again, you got completely ghosted? Anyone put yes in the chat if that's happening? Yes. Yeah, absolutely. All completely ghosted. Yes. Me. And it takes a lot of, yeah. Cause you're following up like, hey, are we going to do this? Just checking in. And if you didn't watch the session from yesterday, I'll send that out as well. That's on how do you follow up. Yes, Luke, love the ghost emoji. And it hurts our heads and our souls. It hurts our souls, AT. Or ahoy. Yeah, exactly. So ghosted, right? And what do a lot of sellers do? They'll say, oh my God, I sent the proposal. They said, send me the proposal. That means they want to buy. No. Okay. I promise you, if after that first call, they're like, send me a proposal, good luck. Okay. Especially if it's a B2B thing, right? So what I will say, hey, I think it's early. We don't typically send proposals this early because we need to talk about implementation and a lot of other things, right? And so what we should do is figure this out now. If you have a few extra minutes, I'm actually free for the next 30. Or what we should do is let's set up another call for tomorrow, right? And let's talk through that implementation. And look, if it's something you and your team can't do, we can't get the right people involved, maybe I can point you to a different solution. Big thing there. Okay. A lot of people fall into this trap, I call it. right? Which is, oh, they send me a proposal, buying signal. What most people do is they want to be nice, right? Like they just don't want to piss you off, right? They want to be nice. Okay. But most of the time, it's too early. Okay. Unless you're doing like a transactional sale, that depends. Sometimes you'll get those, but very rarely. And the thing with this send me proposals, we think, oh, send me a proposal. They're probably the right person. They can get it done. Not right. So this is why, full circle, going back to the pains framework we were talking about. Who else? This is why you need to understand the process and who else is involved all of the time. Because if they say, send me a proposal, and you're like, wait a second, why would I send you a proposal? We haven't talked to Sally, Timmy, Johnny, XYZ. So what we should do is talk about implementation, maybe bring them onto the call, right? Or I should meet with them. Can you help me set that up? All right, cool. So objection flip method. A couple things here. I'm going to send this to y'all so you can go on to that there. So I made a discovery scorecard for y'all. This is something that I've used for like years or whatever. You're going to get this, right? So you can grade your own discovery calls. If you truly want to get good at this, this is a great way to, I even have, at one point I had like a sticky note with this on it, just print it out, or like a piece of paper. And that way I know, okay, am I hitting all the right things, right? Am I hitting the budget discussion, their process, understanding if they're the champion? Is there the biggest thing, is there actually pain there, and do they know that pain? Okay. So those are the big items there. That is a checklist for you. We are 45 minutes in, so I do want to stop here. Any questions? Leva, Steve saying you're not wearing your Taco Tuesday hat. I should get my Taco Tuesday hat. You know what, Steve? We're gonna get the Taco Tuesday hat on here for you today. So there we go. We got the Taco Tuesday hat on for you, so we can get this rolling. All right. Yes, Steven will send you yesterday's and today's notes, but that is discovery, y'all. From here, start again with the new hat. Oh, shoot. We got to re-record, y'all. Sorry. Cool. So, Mike, I will send those out in the newsletter, in Andy's newsletter. I'll send out the recording, the notes, the links to everything, all that fun stuff. So, what's your action plan here for the next 7 days, y'all? I have an action plan for you because I like to be tactical and not fluffy. I like to, like, how do we actually do this, Andy? What do I focus on? Boom. Record your next discovery call, right? Score it. Practice the Pains framework. Implement these permissioning close. So I have a whole like day by day thing if you want to go through this. All right. So a couple things here. If a couple tools here that'll help you too. After that first discovery call, if you want to follow up, distribute, right? If you don't have distribute yet already, DM me. I'll get you a coupon code to start that out. So that is something that you should look at 100%. We're using distribute now. Second thing is brand 30. So this is where we get a bunch of people together to do LinkedIn top of funnel stuff to help you get more leads. Go to brand30.io if you guys want to join that next accelerator that we have going. So that are the two things there for y'all today as well to continue on this journey. But definitely check out distribute, join the waitlist for the next brand 30 cohort if getting your LinkedIn game up and going is something that you're interested in. All right, y'all. So that is the session today. How 1% sellers run discovery calls. Okay. AndysNewsletter.com. I will get that. Let me see. Is that not loading for you, Mike? Mike, put your email here and we'll get that in the chat and I'll email it to you. When is the accelerator? New year. The next one is not until January 3rd. Go to brand30.io here, y'all. Next accelerator is then. It's basically a boot camp to go through LinkedIn, not just the course. It's a community. What we can do here, what we do in brand. Has anyone here taken brand 30 that's in the live session today? How awesome was it? Put it in the chat. Yes. Rich said yes. So what it does, we basically get people together. We post on LinkedIn together. We support each other. We go through content strategy. We go through all that fun stuff. So Rich said, do brand 30. Amazing. Thank you, Rich. That's starting in January. So January 5th to be exact here is when we're doing that. So join the wait list. We're going to do that. Basically give you all the top LinkedIn tips, tricks, and people to build with, which is what keeps you going, right? You get accountability partners, all that fun stuff. Yeah. So cool. Thank you guys. I will add you guys to the newsletter there. All those fun emails, only 54 days to go. Yes, get ready. Join that wait list so that you get an email when we open it, but it's going to be in January and we're going to make that cohort freaking amazing. And it's a good New Year's resolution to get going. Do we get a hat? If you post every day for 30 days while we're in brand 30, I'll get you a hat, AT. We'll get you a hat. Newsletter, cool. Thanks, guys. You already have one. Oh, okay. Not needed then. Maybe you should wear your hat to the next one, AT. All right. So we'll get you to wear that one to the next one. So you can join me. Day of the Dead. Yes, love it. Cool, guys. Thank you so much. Appreciate you guys. I will be sending this out in the newsletter. Enjoy your day today. Go check out Distribute. Go join the brand waitlist for Brand 30. You guys are amazing.